Hello and welcome back to the She is Courageous podcast. So this week I want to talk about overwhelm. I want us to get really honest about what overwhelm is, and we all know, I'm sure we all know, but I'll make that clear, but actually what really causes it. So I wonder, as you're listening to this right now, are you feeling overwhelmed? When this episode goes out, we'll be a few weeks into the summer holidays, so some of the mums out there may well be feeling overwhelmed. You may be feeling overwhelmed by balancing all the children's stuff, balancing the business. Hey, business owners without children like myself, maybe you're feeling overwhelmed because you are trying to still show up. You are feeling like everyone's got it sorted. You are feeling like, overwhelm's an incredible thing, really, because it is created in our minds. Now, being overwhelmed isn't just about being busy. It's literally feeling there is too much to hold. If you kind of imagine your hands, overwhelm is created when we feel like we cannot keep it all in our hands, when there's too many thoughts, when there's too much noise, and not enough time or headspace to make sense of it. Now, overwhelm is a feeling. And one of the first things I ask my clients when I'm working with them and they say they feel overwhelmed is, where is this showing up for you right now? And how is it showing up? And this is a really important question to ask oneself. When you feel overwhelmed, note the word I'm using, when you feel overwhelmed, where does that show up for you? How does that show up for you? Does it show up as a physical feeling, or does it show up in the way you do or don't behave? Where does overwhelm most show up for you in the literal sense? Is it in the to-do list? Is it in your thoughts? Is it in comparison? Do you literally get tension in your shoulders? Can't close your mind off when you go to sleep? Hand up in the air for that one, Shelley. When we feel overwhelmed, what it means is that we are experiencing a state where we have too much to deal with, be that mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically. And what that leads to is a feeling, a sense that we cannot cope, either with a specific problem or with everything that is being placed upon us, everything that is happening around us. In short, the best way to describe overwhelm, and this won't necessarily come as a surprise, is that overwhelm is the output of too much input. It's what happens when there is too much input and literally not enough space. What happens when that happens to us, that wasn't very well worded, but when there is too much input and we can't process all of that input, our brain goes into protection mode. So what we might notice is we freeze, we avoid, we spiral into catastrophizing, we procrastinate. That's the number one output of overwhelm. That is our system, that is our brain and our system saying, I am at capacity. Now, I know you know what overwhelm is, but I think it's really important to get really clear, because I think the word gets used a lot. We hear people all the time, and I'm not saying they're not overwhelmed, but we live in a world right now where I'm not surprised people are overwhelmed. In fact, I'm more surprised if people aren't overwhelmed. The world is heavy right now. There is so much going on around us. There is so much noise on social media. There are so many people doing what we do, so we create comparison, and that creates overwhelm. There's so much to balance. There's so much that we feel like we should be doing. That combination creates overwhelm, but a lot of it can be mitigated. Now, there are lots of really common reasons for overwhelm. There are excessive responsibilities, be that at work, with, whether that's running your own business or working in someone else's business, with high job demands, poor work-life balance, and feeling constant pressure to perform all the tasks all the time and have the perfectly balanced life outside, and be able to manage all the family responsibilities and keep the house in check, and apparently have great big goals and be achieving those too. Overwhelm can come from changes in life, transitional periods, moving to new countries, changing roles, going through relationship changes, or, taking on new learning experiences. Overwhelm can be triggered by more traumatic experiences, loss, physical injury. Anything that significantly impacts one's ability to cope is overwhelm. But here's something we don't talk about enough. The self-imposed pressure, the setting unrealistic goals we do, the striving for perfection, the pressure we put upon ourselves to be everything to everyone, to be brilliant at everything, to be the best, to make all the money, to do it really, really quickly, to have the perfect balance, to be seen to be, to not hold boundaries because we're worried about what others will think, to not give ourselves rest because there's so much we should be doing. We put such unrealistic expectations upon ourselves and we create huge overwhelm. Feeling overwhelmed is the most common human experience because every single one of us experiences stress and challenges and changes in our lives. Every single one of us is living in probably the noisiest of our times. But what do we do about it? It's all good and well me telling you, yeah, we're probably all really feeling overwhelmed at the moment. That's really helpful, Shelley. What do I do? Well, first of all, I want to call all of that out because if you are feeling overwhelmed, I think that there's an underlying pressure not to share that. Not to say, actually, I'm finding this really tough right now. I'm not coping right now. Because so much of the overwhelm is created by self-imposed pressures that we're supposed to be like everybody else, that we're supposed to have it all sorted, and apparently everyone else does. We have to get really, really clear about what is creating overwhelm for us. We have to get really clear about where is this showing up? What is it? How is it manifesting itself? What impact is it having on me? Awareness is the first step of change. Don't I say that all the time? We have to look at what's actually underneath all of this. Because it's very rarely about the size of the to-do list. It's very rarely about all the things that we think we need to do. It's about the weight of what's on it and the way we are relating to it. We have to pay close attention to our emotional and physical reactions in different situations and try to link them, if you like, to specific events, specific environments. We have to start to understand what is creating overwhelm for us. What's at the root of this? We have to get a bit deeper. We have to get to the real source of overwhelm. Because as I said, it's rarely the calendar, it's rarely the inbox. It's what those things represent. It's what we are making them mean about us. Now, this is something that I have found myself asking my clients more regularly. It's a question that came out of nowhere just a few weeks ago in a session with a client, and I just found myself saying these words. What are you making it mean about you? And with overwhelm, the real source of overwhelm is not the calendar, it's not the to-do list, it's not the inbox, it's not the social media. It's what you are making that mean about you. It's what those things represent. It's the fear of falling behind. It's the pressure to get it all right. It's the guilt for having needs of your own. It's the voice in your head saying you're not doing enough. We have to look at the story that we're telling ourselves about why we feel overwhelmed. Because once we name the story, we can challenge it. What are you making it mean about you? Because it's that meaning that is creating not just story, but your own version of what you have to do about that story. So we have to spot the tipping point. We have to catch ourselves before we spiral. The outputs of overwhelm, of course, we know what they are. Procrastination, holding back, freezing, avoiding, doing more quite often. But they're the outputs. Overwhelm is the input. What is the input that's creating the overwhelm? We all have a tipping point. We all have a moment when we tip from I'm okay to I can't. But what most of us do is push through that moment and end up paying for it in stress, shutdown, burnout, procrastination, the bucket of overwhelm. So I want you to really think about what are your early warning signs of overwhelm? Now, for me personally, it's when I start writing and rewriting the same list. I love a to-do list. I love being able to tick off a to-do list. When I am feeling overwhelmed, I get caught in the list. And so I keep rewriting it because it's like I'm telling myself, if I can rewrite the list, it'll make more sense. What about you? What are your early warning signs? Because if you can start to see your early warning signs, you can start to get ahead of overwhelm setting in. So rather than dealing with the outcome of overwhelm, you can deal with the input that's creating the overwhelm. Now, I use that phrase, what are you making it mean about you? Overwhelm is a feeling, and I just want to be really clear about this now. Overwhelm is a feeling, not a thing. It's created by what we are thinking, not by what we are doing. So what we've got to get really clear on is actually, what are we thinking that's creating the feeling of overwhelm? Now, our thoughts can often be triggered by external things, yes, but we still have thoughts. Everything starts as a thought, and it keeps going around in a circle. We think, we feel, we act, we have a reality, we have an outcome. The outcome causes the next chain reaction of think, feel, act, or don't act, as is the case sometimes with overwhelm. So the real key to breaking free of overwhelm is to go deeper and get really clear on the real source of your overwhelm. And when I say the real source, I mean the source internally. What are you making it mean about you? Now, like everything, I want to give you some tips to move through overwhelm, but you've got to come back a couple of steps and really get under the skin of what are you making it mean about you. But if we want to move through overwhelm, if we're in it, what do we do when we're in the throes of overwhelm and we can't seem to move? Well, the first thing that I want to help you do is exactly that, move. And what I would say is, if you are in the grips of overwhelm and you are unable to do anything, that's what you're telling yourself. What are you making it mean about you? See, you're telling yourself that right now you just can't do anything. You can't see the wood for the trees, you're making no progress, can't work out where to start. Well, the first tip to move through overwhelm is just take one ridiculously small action. We call it the micro move. Just start. I'm not talking about the big goals. I'm talking about open the document, jot down the title, write one sentence, do one tiny thing, because motion creates clarity and motion creates momentum. And when you start moving, you keep moving. The challenge when we get into the freeze of overwhelm is we just keep going through it all in our heads. We don't do anything. It's all in our heads. Sorry, not sorry. So the first thing that you have to do to move through overwhelm is micro move. And I mean micro, tiny, small action. The second tip I've got for you, if you are in the grips of overwhelm, is to work with really short spurts of time. Work with 15-minute containers. Set a timer and just say to yourself, I'm just going to do 15 minutes, then I'll reassess, I'll step away and I'll decide what next. What it does is it removes the pressure. It takes away the pressure of completion, but it gets you into a sense of urgency and adrenaline. It gets you into motion without the weight of perfection. 15 minutes. What can I get done in 15 minutes? Have some fun with it. So work with the 15-minute container. If you are really struggling with kind of where to start, ask yourself a really simple question. What one thing, if I just got it done today, would make me feel better? Not what's most urgent. Actually, more importantly, what is draining your energy by just sitting on your mind? Now, if you can identify that, then I would go back to the micro move. If there is one thing that is really draining your energy, really weighing on your mind, go back to the micro move. What's one small move could you make on that? Now, my final tip, and these are really simple. The last thing you need when it comes to tips for overwhelm is loads and loads of ideas, okay? Because guess what? That would be overwhelming. But one of the number one reasons we get caught in overwhelm is because we put so much pressure on ourselves. You might not like this, but here's the truth bomb for you. So much of overwhelm is self-created. It's self-perpetuated because we are putting so much pressure on ourselves to be so much to so many, to be so good at so much. So my tip here is to simply lower the bar. And that will make some of you really, really uncomfortable. It's supposed to. But what if you didn't need to be perfect? What if you didn't need to smash it? What if you just did it? Rough drafts are allowed. Messy action still counts as action. You can clean it up later. Lower the bar. If you are in overwhelm and you are having high expectations of yourself, if you are setting a really high bar for yourself, you will never get out of overwhelm. Now, all of those tips can be used together, can be used in isolation. Make the micro move, set the 15-minute container and see what you can get done in 15 minutes and have some fun with it. Ask yourself what would emotionally make you feel lighter if you got it done today. Lower the bar. 4 very simple tips that will help you move through overwhelm. But all of it can be mitigated, reduced, maybe even avoided if you could actually come back a couple of steps and really ask yourself, what's the real source of your overwhelm? Because everything is a mindset problem. Everything is rooted in what we are thinking about ourselves, about the world around us, and about our place in it. Everything starts with our thoughts. So if you're in overwhelm, those are my tips. Micro move, 15-minute container, prioritize an emotional drainer and get it out there. Lower the bar. But if you really, really want to work on not becoming so overwhelmed, being able to manage it before it becomes overwhelmed, you have to get to the root. And you have to really identify the triggers and what are you making it mean about you. What's the story you are telling yourself that is creating the overwhelm? Because that's the key to reducing, mitigating, maybe even eradicating overwhelm. So, what is one belief that you are holding on to? What's one story you're telling yourself that is feeding your overwhelm right now? What's one micro move you could make in the next day? Where can you give yourself permission to do less, but maybe better? Overwhelm is not a weakness, it's not a flaw, it is human. It means you are asking for space. It means your brain is saying, I can't take in any more. So I want us to stop forcing our way through. I want us to listen to ourselves. I want us to understand what we're making it mean about ourselves. I want us to truly understand the mindset underneath it. I want us to break free of overwhelm because it's not helping any of us and move at the right pace for ourselves. Because the right pace moving forwards is still moving forwards. And that means we get to where we're trying to get to.